All right, so carrying on. Right, our next step is to work on this lower section. So I have my project folder, and let's just go ahead, right? I'm just going to drag it down here onto VS Code. Open up my CSS folder. All right, and we'll just make sure Go Live is running. So, okay. All right, so first thing we need to do, let's take a look at our design. All right, always just get a reminder. Okay, right, we're going to put this background image in. Then we're going to make 3 sections, put those in a row. And then we'll style up the text. And then we'll make our links, right? And then lastly, we'll put in the footer. I'm not going to code the whole footer. I'm just going to treat it like a graphic and just put it in there to just finish off the page. All right, pretty straightforward. Let's get moving. Okay, remember from last time, right? Here's the end of our top photo section. And we've got our lower photo section. So we've got our row, right, all around. And I'm just going to turn on my red lines, right? Command / save that to kind of see what. Okay, so it's just the section. So turn that back off. Okay. All right, and I'm gonna cover my section header. All right. And if we take a look at our index, we scroll down to the end, right? I've used an ID here as well. So this is the lower photo section. Okay. And the first thing that I'm going to do is, I want to put my background image on the photo section. And I can reuse almost all of the rules for my top photo section. It's not a whole lot different. All right, so I'll put that in. All right, so I don't need the height at 95, right? I'm probably just going to go with pixels. So we'll say 400. All right, because I don't need the height to adjust to the viewport, I just wanted a fixed height. Okay. And I'm not going to need these minimums. All right, the background, this is fine. No repeat is fine. But instead of contain, I want to go with cover. And I'm looking to use a different photo. Now you'll see, right, I've added a couple more photos. And we do the same way, right? I've gone over this in a previous video. But I want to use tree background. All right, so I'm just going to delete this. And when I retype the / all right. Okay, you can see something that showed up. And there it is, right? And I've made the 400, so now my type is spread out a little bit. So, all right, that looks okay. So we'll stay right there. Okay, so all good. And I'm going to add a couple things, right? I want the type to be white. And actually, I'm probably, I actually decided I didn't really want it quite 100% white. So I'm just going to go with an RGB. Oops, spelled it wrong. RGB color value, right? I don't need to do alpha. And right, this is just a reminder, right? These are the numbers for the red, green, and the blue. And I'm going to go with 238. 238, 238. Okay. And to go from one to the other, I was just doing the tab key. right, when you first create it, so it can be a little faster way to go. So we'll save that, right? Okay, there we go. That looks okay. And I'm going to go a little heavier for these. I'm going to go font weight. And again, right, these are the thinnest to the heaviest. I'm just going to go with 700. Take a look. Okay, that's better, right? Now all my text is bolded. And I want to space out a little bit. So I'm going to use the line height of 24 px. Now, just, I figured these out earlier, right? But if you're just working through it, wherever your design file is, right, you can just, right, come in and look for what are your settings, right? 16/22. And again, we're always doing an interpretation, so you could use the 16. I've decided to go a little bit larger than my actual design, but right, as long as you're in the neighborhood, you're the designer, you get to make the call. So, and if we look, right, the headings are a little bit bigger, right, than the text, but I think I want them all the same size. Right, and the default for the style sheet is 16. So I'm going to reuse my ID and take a look. Okay, they're H3s, right? That's what each of the titles are. So use a descendant selector and I'll set the H3. And we'll go font size 16px. All right, perfect. Now they're all set the right way. And if we take a look at our design here, right, our first, let's make this a little bigger so we can see, right? So I just have the first couple couple words here in the gray, right? And then I've got the H3s are also in the gray. So let's make that rule. We'll see a new technique. So on my index file, right, for book by and directed by, let's just take a look at that HTML. Yeah, right, so I gotta break that. So let's just go ahead and we'll use a BR, right, for the line break. Okay, so that's better. I'm not going to need this period, so I'll clean that up. Okay, and I'm going to want to target, right, just these bits of text. So the tag we can use for that is called a span. Okay, and for this span, we want to put a class on it. So I'm going to do a class of title text. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to need to use this twice, so I'm going to copy this and put it here, and then I'll just move the text I want to target inside the span. Okay, I'm going to copy the class. I'll save that. All right. Okay, so this is a new type of selector, right? We're going to say a span with a class of title text. So the selector will only grab spans with this specific class on it. Okay, and then we're going to do color. And the color I'm using here is B1B1B1, which is a gray, right? And oops, this is a hex color, so I got to put the hashtag at the beginning, right? And when I do that, the color will show up. So go ahead and save that. All right, there they go. Okay, so we got some spacing issues, but we'll get to that. But the gray is now in place. That all looks fine. But I also want the H3s, right, to also be that gray. Now, if I'm going to use exactly the same rule, I can use a technique of just adding additional selectors, right? I separate them with a comma and a space, but then I type in the H3. And what this is saying is, like, find everything that's a span with a class of title text, then find anything that's an H3 and apply the color. And there we go, right? Now they're all my H3s are also in the correct color. So the next thing I want to tackle is spacing, right? Like the width of these things. And if I go back to my design again, all right, we'll go a little smaller here, right? These columns are kind of, this one's pretty wide. These ones are not quite as wide, right? All of them kind of center. Okay, so let's work on the widths first. At this point, I don't really have anything to sort of grab onto, right? I mean, I have something for this column, right? There's a div there I can use and a div there I can use, but I don't have anything on these two paragraphs, right? Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to make an additional div right here, okay? Okay, and then I'm going to take these items, put them in there. Right, and you'll notice, right, I'm in the row, and my layout isn't going to be affected because the div that contains the paragraphs, right, is still a direct child, so I still have 3. So when I saved that, right, nothing really has changed. Right, it's got a little longer. So let's take a look. We're just going to put some BRs in here, so that this lines up the way we need it to. And we're going to put one there, basically replacing. Okay, let's take a look at that. Oh, and it looks like, okay, so this right here, to the comma and a space. That's better. And then also the box office looks like it could use some BRs. A couple there, and the website I think is fine. Okay, box office now, right? And box office with the, okay, good. So our next thing is, right, we're going to need to add some classes to these 3 divs so we can control the width, right? Now I could target, the section, or put something on here and then target the divs within and split them all. But I want to control them just a little bit differently. So I'm going to say class, I'm going to call this theater column. I'm going to put this same class on all of them. But this middle one, I'm going to add wide to it. Okay, so now I have 2 types. I have theater column wide, and theater column. So back to my. And I'm going to go with a width of 25%. Let's see what we get. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to copy this. Do theater column wide. And I'm just going to make that one a little wider. I'm going to go with 40%. Right, and if we add these up, right, 25 and 25 is 50, plus 40 is 90. So, right, it's now taken up 90%. I've got a little extra space. So that's all good. But I now want to get these spread out, right? I want them spread across the full width. and I'm already in, right? Right, and I don't really have anything I can use, right? I don't want to put it on, I don't want to add that to the wrapper. I don't want to add that to the row, right? Those are my utility classes. So I'm going to add a new class. Okay, and I'm putting it here, right? Because with the row applied, that means that this now is display flex. And if I add another class that I can grab onto, I can use the justify content attribute and spread these out, right? So if we remember how we did that earlier, we can do the same thing here, and I'm going to justify content. I'm going to use space between. Okay, and there we go. All right, now pushed out. So, all right, they're all looking pretty good. All right, that's all working. All right. Okay, now, right, I want to add some space, right, underneath the public, underneath department. So how can I do that, right? What can I sort of got? Well, right, the way we structure our HTML, each of these groupings, right, in this div, there's a paragraph. And so what I want is I want to put some margin underneath paragraphs that fall within this div. And I've got two types, right? I've got the theater column and theater column wide. Okay, so we can work with that. We'll take that, we'll copy that. Okay, and again, right, the old descendant selector, right, we're going to put the P, and then we're going to do margin bottom of 20 pixels. Save that. All right, that worked, right? This one is probably, we have the P, but there's nothing really to see, right? And because this one has a different class, that's why it's not affected, but that's exactly what I'm after, right? Okay, well, we just used, right, this technique of putting a comma, and that we can do that again here, right? I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to copy that, put the space, right? But it's not that, we need to add wide, right? So these are both the selector, right? And it's doing the exact same thing, just putting the margin bottom, right? There we go. Now all of them are pushed down the way we want. Everything's stacked right. Okay, we're all good. One thing left. All right, so let's take a look. Yeah, I just want to push down, right, my whole unit here. I can use my theater content div. So let's find theater content, and I'm going to say padding on the top of, let's say, 40px. Let's take a look and see how that works. All right, so that moves it down. Maybe 40 is a little too much because, right, I only have a little, but definitely want some. There we go. That's probably what we're looking for. Okay. All right. So everything's aligned. Right. Our text is all set. Okay. That's all for now. Our last. We'll do the footer in the next one.